Hi everyone, so welcome back to my channel Mathematic Girls 43226. Here I am with my another video. This is actually the part 2 video. Part 1 I have already uploaded. This is NCRT example solutions of class 11th. Topic is limits. So yes, I'm covering the NCRT example solution questions here, and I have already made part 1. So if you have not watched that video, I'm going to put the link in the description box. Make sure you watch that video first and then you come to this video. Because in that one, I have taken all the basics and little short type of questions. In this one, it's a long type of questions I have taken. All right, so without any further delay, let's get started with the video. And this is our first question. So we need to find here the value of the limit x tends to 0 2 sine x minus sine 2x upon x cubed. So let's start with the solution. I have already explained some basic things, about limit in my first part of the video. So again, you can watch that video. And here I'm directly starting with the solution. So I'll write down the question first. Limit x tends to 0, 2 sine x as it is. And minus sine 2x. We have a formula for sine 2x. So there is a very famous formula, sine 2x is 2 sine x cos x. It's that formula that whenever I do any trigonometry questions, related questions, and whenever I see sine 2x, I'm like, okay, I have to use 2 sine x cos x. So, this formula is so famous. So sine 2x will become 2 sine x cos x. And then upon x cube as it is. Now here you can observe that we have 2 sine x here and we have 2 sine x here also. So if this 2 sine x, I'll take common. So limit x tends to 0 and taking that 2 sine x common, I'm getting inside the bracket 1 minus cos x, right, upon x cube. Now here what I'm going to do, I'm going to use another formula. Basically, I'm trying to convert everything here in terms of sine only. So this 2 sine x already in sine x, so no need to convert this. 1 as it is, and this cos x I'm going to convert. So what is the formula? Let's understand. So we know that 1 minus cos 2x is 2 sine square x. Okay. So 1 minus cos 2x is 2 sine square x. We can also do one thing instead of using, like 1 writing as it is in cos x, using the formula for cos x, it's better if I directly use for this. So we know the formula 1 minus cos 2x is 2 sine square x. Okay. But here I don't have 1 minus cos 2x. I have 1 minus cos x. That means this will get divided by 2. It simply means that here also this will get divided by 2. So what is the formula now? It is 1 minus cos x only because 2 will get cancelled. And this is 2 sine square x by 2 as it is, right? So of course, we can write down here this as using the formula 2 sine square x by 2 upon x cube as it is. Now we can simplify this further. So yes, I'll definitely multiply this 2 and 2. So limit x tends to 0. 2 times 2 is 4. Sine x as it is, and then sine square x by 2. And then of course, I write down x cube as x and then here x square. Of course, we can do that, right? Now after this, what I'm going to do, I'm simply going to distribute the limit. Okay, this 4 will come outside and this x tends to 0 here. Limit x tends to 0 sine x by x and limit will get distributed. That is the property of limit. So therefore, again, I'm going to write down limit x tends to 0. And I can write down this sine square x by 2 as sine x by 2 whole square, right? I can write down this x square as x square. I'm here dividing by 4. And if I'm dividing by 4, I have to compensate this. So I have to multiply by 4 also, right? So I have balanced it out. Now in the next step, what I'm going to do, I'm simply going to cancel this 4 and 4 first. And now this will become limit x tends to 0. There is a formula which I'm going to write down here. Limit x tends to 0. Sin x upon x is actually 1. So using this formula, actually this will become 1, right? This entire thing will be 1 only. So this is 1 times. This we can first rewrite as limit x tends to 0. I can write down this as sin x by 2 upon x by 2 whole square, right? Because this is also x square by 4. So that I have written as x by 2 whole square, right? And of course, we can write down this as 1 into limit x tends to 0 sin x by 2 upon x by 2. That is also going to be 1 only. So if you want, you can just write down like this also. Limit x tends to 0 sin x by 2 over x by 2 whole square. Okay, and of course the value of this is also going to be 1 only. So 1 into 1 is 1. So that's the answer. All right, now we can go to the next question. So this is our next question. We need to simplify limit x tends to 0, 1 minus cos mx upon 1 minus cos nx. This is exactly similar, I can say, to the previous question, not very different because the formula is same. So this is limit x tends to 0. I'll write down as it is. We know that the formula of 1 minus cos 2x is 2 sine square x, right? But here at the place of 2, we have m. So that means 1 minus cos mx will simply become 2 sine square mx. So wherever it was 2x, it was x. So now it is mx. So it will become mx, right? So 2 sine square mx. Similarly, 1 minus cos nx will also become 2 sine square nx. And these are the two formulas that we are going to use. Okay. So this one and this one. So using this formula, of course, this will become 2 sine square mx. And this will become 2 sine square nx, right? Now here I'm going to cancel this 2 and 2, right? So we know one property of a limit, that limit will get distributed over the numerator and denominator. So we can write on this as limit x tends to 0. Yes, you can see that. So limit x tends to 0 sine square mx, okay, upon limit x tends to 0 sine square mx, okay. Now here what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide this by m square x square. If I'm doing this, I have to do this also. M square x square, because I have divided by something. So to compensate or to to balance it out, I have to multiply as well. Next, I can do the same thing here. I will do n square x square and I'll multiply by the same thing, right? Now what I can do, I can write down this as limit x tends to 0. This sine square mx, I can also write down as sine mx whole square, right? And this m square x square, I can also write down as mx whole square only, right? Very simple. This is m square, this is x square, all right? And here also, it is limit x tends to 0. I can again write down this as sine nx upon nx whole square. Of course, we can write down that into n square x square. Clearly, this x square I can cancel, and this m square upon n square I can write down outside the limit. And now we know the formula that limit x tends to 0 sin x upon x by x. Sin x upon x is 1. So using this formula, of course, the numerator, which you can also write down as limit x tends to 0 sin mx upon mx whole square, okay, divided by limit x tends to 0 sin nx upon nx whole square. So both are going to be 1 only. So this will become m square upon n square times 1 upon 1 which is same as just m square upon n square. And that's the answer. So we are done with this as well. Now let's move to the next question. This is our next question. Very simple again. All the questions I can see here are formula based only. So let's start with this. So this is limit x tends to pi by 3. And here we have root over 1 minus cos 6x. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that right now because I'm going to use a formula. And this is root 2 and then pi by 3 minus x. Okay. Next, so of course we are going to use a formula for this. So I can write, we know that the formula of 1 minus cos 2x is 2 sine square x. This is the formula that we know, right? Now what form we have over here in the question? We have 1 minus cos 6x. Now we can write down 1 minus cos 6x as 1 minus cos 2 times 3x, right? So this is also in this formula only, where 1 minus cos 2x, at the place of x, we have this 3x, right? So of course, if you compare this and this formula, this will become 2 sine square. At the place of x, we have 3x here. So here also we'll have 3x. That is it. So we have made a formula, right? So using this formula, of course, this will become 2 sine square 3x, right? Now this we can write down as limit x tends to pi by 3. Of course, the root will get separated. So root 2 here and then this root sine square 3x. I can write down as sine 3x whole square. And then upon root 2 as it is, pi by 3 minus x as it is. Of course, here this root 2 and root 2 will get cancelled. So what we are getting? We are getting here limit x tends to pi by 3. Here square and root will also get cancelled. So we are getting just sine 3x and then upon pi by 3 minus x. Now here I'm going to use a formula. And the formula is, we know that sine, one second. So we know that sine 180 minus theta or sine pi minus theta is sine theta only. So using that formula, I can write down here sine, since sine pi minus theta is sine theta only. So I can write down this sine 3x. At the place of theta, we have 3x. So I can also write down this as sine pi minus 3x, right? Of course, we can write down. So that means I can use the formula sine 3x as sine of, or you can say sine theta as sine pi minus theta, where theta is 3x. So pi minus 3x. Now here what I'm going to do, I'm going to take 3 common. So if I take 3 common here, of course I have to divide here so that, like it will be pi only. And from here I have of course taken 3 outside, so just x, right? So I can write down this as limit x tends to pi by 3 sine 3 pi by 3 minus x. That I can write down. And upon pi by 3 minus x here as it is. All right. Now after this, I can write down this as sine x tends to pi by 3. Here I'm going to do something. I'm going to multiply this by 3. So if I have multiplied something in the numerator, I have to do the same in the numerator just to balance it out. So now this 3 I can write down outside and this will become sine. So if I now shift this 3 inside, it will become pi minus 3x, right? And this will also become pi minus 3x only, right? Now we know the formula sine theta, like limit x tends to 0, sine theta upon theta is 1 only, right? So using that formula, of course, we can here also write down that this entire thing is actually 1. So this entire thing is 1 using that formula. So therefore it will simply become 3 times 1 is 3. So 3 is the answer. And the formula that I have used here is, I am just writing it over here. And that is limit x tends to 0, sine x upon x is 1. Okay. So that is it. Now we can move to the next question. So this is our next question. This is a very simple question. Again, formula-based question. Limit x tends to pi by 4, sin x minus cos x upon x minus pi by 4. So here what I'm going to do, I'm not directly going to write down the question because I'm going to simplify this sin x minus cos x first. How we can do this? Let us understand. So for that, I'm going to multiply root 2. And if I'm doing that, I have to divide also. So that will become sin x minus cos x upon root 2, right? Now this root 2 that you can see in the denominator that I'm going to distribute. So sin x upon root 2 and this will become minus cos x upon root 2, right? Now this root 2 as it is and this will become sin x upon root 2 I can also write down in this way, of course. And this cos x and then upon root 2 I can also write down again in this way. Now, if I ask you for what value of cos, the value is 1 upon root 2. So, we all know that cos 45 is 1 upon root 2. So, cos 45 in terms of pi is nothing but cos pi by 4 minus cos x. For what value of sine, the value is 1 upon root 2. Of course, it is again sine pi by 4. So, I have just substituted 1 upon root 2 with cos pi by 4 at one place and another place sine pi by 4. Now, if you notice, this is actually in the formula. This is in the formula of sine A cos B minus cos A sine B. Okay. So here I'm going to write down the formula for you as well. And the formula is sine A cos B minus cos A sine B, right? Where A is x and B is pi by 4. So this has a formula sine A minus B. So using this formula, of course, this will become root 2 sine A minus B, that is x minus pi by 4. And now you can notice that that is the reason why I simplified it here. Now I can write down this question. Limit x tends to pi by 4 as it is. Sin x minus cos x. I can, of course, write down at the place of sin x minus cos x this term because we have simplified it. So root 2 times sine x minus pi by 4 upon x minus pi by 4 as it is. Now this root 2 I can write down outside and I can write down this as limit x tends to pi by 4 and this is sine x minus pi by 4 upon x minus pi by 4, right? Now here we are going to use the formula and the formula is since limit x tends to 0, sine x upon x is 1. Using this formula, of course, this entire thing is actually 1 only, right? Therefore, this will become root 2 times 1. And the answer is root 2. That's the answer. All right, we can now move to the next question. So this is our next question, exactly similar to the last one I can say. So again, here you can see that we have limit x tends to pi by 6 root 3 sine x minus cos x upon x minus pi by 6. So here I'm going to simplify this root 3 sine x minus cos x. So in this particular thing, what I'm going to do, I'm going to multiply by 2. And of course, I have to divide by 2 as well to compensate, or I can say to balance it out, right? So of course, I can write down this as 2 and this sine x I'm writing first and then this root 3. Okay, I'm also distributing this 2. So over 2 here and this is minus cos x over, right? Now I can write down this as 2 times sine x. I can write down this root 3 by 2 in this way. Of course, we can do that. Minus cos x and then, sorry, yeah, cos x. And then this is 1 by 2. We can, of course, write down in this way. 2 sine x. Now, for what value of cos, the value is root 3 by 2. We all know that cos 30 is root 3 by 2. So, cos 30 in terms of pi, we can write down as cos pi by 6 minus. This we can write down cos x as it is. And now, for what value of sine, the value is half. Of course, sine 30 only. So, that will become sine pi by 6. Right? Now, here there is a formula that we are going to use, and I'm going to write down the formula over here. It's the same formula, the formula that I have written over there, right? Sine A cos B minus cos A sine B the formula is sine of A minus B, right? So using this formula, of course, it will become 2 as it is sine A minus B, that means x minus pi by 6, right? So now we have the value for this, that is 2 sine x minus pi by 6. So now we can start the solution. So limit x tends to pi by 6. Root 3 sine x minus cos x, we have the formula. We have like not the formula, we have the expression for that, that is 2 sine x minus pi by 6. And this x minus pi by 6 as it is. And now this 2 I can write on outside. So 2 times limit x tends to pi by 6, x minus pi by 6. Sorry, sign I forgot here. And then upon x minus pi by 6. Okay. So here we are going to use the formula again, that limit x tends to 0, sine x by x is 1. So using this formula, this expression that you can see over here, this expression is also going to be 1 only. Okay. So that is why the answer is 2 times 1, that is 2. Okay, this is the answer. All right, this is the solution. Now we can move to the next question. All right, so this is our last question of today's video. So let us simplify this. Limit x tends to a sine x minus sine a upon root x minus root 2. So let's start with the solution. I want to change the color now. So I will use a black color. So this will become limit x tends to a. Of course, you can see roots in the numerator, denominator. So when you see roots in the denominator, the very first thing that one should think is to rationalize, and that is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to rationalize this. So I'm going to multiply this by root x plus root a, and of course I'm going to divide by the same thing. So now in the numerator we are having limit x tends to a, sine x minus sine a times root x plus root a. In the denominator, we are having, of course, the form that is a minus b into a plus b. So a minus b into a plus b is a square minus b square. So using that formula, this will become root x square minus root a square. Of course, square and root will get cancelled. So I can directly write down just x minus a. Okay. So this is x minus a. All right. So now I can write down this as limit x tends to a. This I can write down as sine x minus sine a upon x minus a. Of course, I can write down this way. And then into this root x plus root a as it is. Now, there is one rule that we know that the limit will get distributed. So, the limit will be with this, that is sine x minus sine a upon x minus a, and with this as well. So, limit x tends to a root x plus root a. In the second part, that is root x plus root a, we can clearly see that if we directly put the value of limit, there is no harm. We can directly put the value of limit. So what that will become, let us write down that. 1 second. Yes. So this first write down limit x tends to a, and this is sine x minus sine a upon x minus a. And here after putting the value of limit, it will become root a plus root a. What is root a plus root a? 2 root a. So I can write down this 2 root a over here. And then this limit x tends to a. Here I'm going to use a formula. This x minus a as it is. In the numerator, we are having a form sine. I'm just writing the formula over here. So the formula is sine c minus sine b. So the formula of this is 2 sine c minus d by 2 into cos c plus d by 2. So using this formula, this will actually become sine c minus d by 2, that means x minus a by 2, and then cos c plus d by 2, that means x plus a by 2. Right? Again, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to write down this 2 root a as it is, and then limit x tends to a sine x minus a by 2, and then this x minus a over here, and I'm going to distribute the limit with this cos. So this will become limit x tends to a cos x plus a by 2. So now what we can do, we can simply simplify this further. So this is 2 root a as it is. Here, I'm just going to do one thing. I'm going to divide by 2. And if I'm doing so, I'm going to multiply by 2 as well, right? So it is actually 1 by 2. Now this 2 and this 2 will get cancelled. So it is actually just root a. So I can write down here just root a. And then, of course, limit x tends to a sine x minus a over 2 upon x minus a over 2. And then here I'll put the value of limit, that is cos x is a, so a plus a over 2. Now this will become root a. Now for this part, we know that limit x tends to 0 sine x upon x is 1. So using that formula, of course, this part will also become 1 only. So it is root a times 1 and times this cos a plus a is 2a, so 2a by 2. Of course, this 2 and 2 will get cancelled. So what we are getting is root a cos a, and that's the answer. And that is the end of this video for today. I hope you understood all these long type questions. If there is any doubt, let me know in the comment section. And yes, I know I'm getting a lot of requests on certain topics that I'm of course looking at all those topics. Of course, it will take time because I have to prepare the content for that, and then only I can make the video. So don't worry. Whatever videos you are requesting, I'm absolutely going to make the videos on that super soon. So yes, thank you so much for watching. Again, I'll remind you, if you have not subscribed to my channel, make sure you subscribe and share it with your friends and families. Thank you so much.